when did you see the kind of the rise in fans and people listening to your music?
It was a song I put out called Side Piece. I posted a video singing it on TikTok, went to sleep, and I woke up with millions of views. About 30,000 people made their own videos
Oh, wow.
singing the song,
Side piece.
knew every word to it. And those videos all had 500,000 views, 200,000 views. And it just changed my perspective completely. I stopped focusing on Music Row. I stopped focusing on the business, the industry, any of that. All that matters is a great song and connecting with someone who needs that song.
Julia Cole, welcome to the podcast.
So happy to be here, Ed.
I'm happy you're here too. One of my favorite people in Nashville.
I said walk in. I was like, I'll take any excuse to come hang out with you. So
Yeah, that's awesome. So, gosh, lots to talk about. Where to begin? I was they gave me show notes, and I'm like, oh, I don't need notes. I'm like, yeah, just let's see what you come up with. And I saw on there 2022. Let me read it again. CMT Next Women of Country.
Mhm.
I mean, I've known you for a long time. You've come a long way. What's that like?
It's definitely one of those like pinch me moments because every female in country music that you're hearing on the radio right now was a CMT Next Women in Country, like right before that happened. So it definitely feels like validation and recognition from a person and an entity in the industry that has been right a lot of times before. So it's exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, one of the things as I've watched your career and I just had our friendship for so long, I've noticed your work ethic, and it really has been incredible because you were going to Vanderbilt, you were playing volleyball at Vanderbilt, and you were playing music. I say on the side, but you were hustling all
It
the
definitely
time.
was on the side for sure. I just didn't know anything about the music industry. And I'm sure you've heard this story before, but it's probably been a long time. But I got my start singing national anthems for my volleyball and basketball games. So sports was really my first love and what I spent my entire life doing before I fell into this national anthem gig. And then I started doing it for everything in Houston. So Texans, Astros, NASA, Houston Dynamo, the rodeo. So I'm in high school singing in front of 75,000 people, but I don't know how to write a song. I don't know how to play guitar. I had learned classical piano that my mom made me take growing up, but I wasn't like currently playing piano or anything like that. Music was not a goal, but I've always loved music and singing along with the radio and things like that. So when I came to Nashville, it was kind of like, let me just try and figure this weird new industry out that I've never thought of before and simultaneously keep doing what I've been working on my whole life, which is academics and athletics.
Yeah. I mean, so let's go back to you were born and raised in Houston, correct? I know your parents, awesome people. You have two
The
sisters.
best.
Yeah. What was it like growing up in Houston? And did you start music there? Was it all about sports? What was that like?
I've, like you said, two sisters. All of us played sports growing up. And my dad always referred to our family as the Cole team.
Hmm.
And that's how my fan base is like referred to now. And it's been fun because all of these little pieces from my sports world and childhood have just kind of naturally fit into the progression of where my career's gone. But yeah, growing up in Houston was very fitting for what I'm doing now because there's so many different influences in that city. It's a melting pot. You've got Texas country, you've got Beyonce. Everything is going on there. And with my sports teams, we had so many different people of different backgrounds that were always together, putting together a locker room playlist or a bus playlist that there was never only one genre playing. And you can definitely hear a lot of that influence in my production and my lyrics. Country storytelling, but a lot of creativity on the production side.
Yeah. And so, when it came to growing up, were you always playing sports as well?
Always. That's it. Every sport. I played soccer for over 10 years, basketball for over 10 years. Volleyball is my favorite. Played that for the longest. Ran track and cross country. My older sister and I passed the baton off to each other in the 4x4. I
Oh,
mean,
nice.
sports were like everything.
And your older sister is in London?
She moved back. She lived
Oh,
in London for 5 years and now she lives in Connecticut.
wow.
And I'm probably going to say this somewhat incorrectly, but as far as I know, she runs Coinbase's cryptocurrency hedge fund.
Oh, that's pretty
Yes.
cool. We gotta
Yes.
talk.
They acquired the company she was working at. So I'm not sure if I said the title correctly, but that's where she is now and what she's doing.
And she was also an athlete?
Yes.
And
For our whole childhood.
for your whole time? Yeah.
Basketball was more her, like the way that I locked into volleyball, she locked into basketball like that.
And then, so where did she go to college?
Duke. Both of my sisters are Blue Devils.
Okay, she went to Duke, and then after college, did she go straight to England, or how did that work?
Morgan Stanley in New York City.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And then your youngest sister, Emily,
Mm-hmm.
she's a track star.
Still running at Duke right now. She just had her first day of class, day before yesterday, or
Oh,
I
that's
guess whatever
awesome.
Monday.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And she wrote a book too. What was that book?
She is so incredible. It's been really fun to watch her grow up into everything she's become, and she is an author now. And her book, it's called The Player's Plate, and she combines different recipes that focus on helping you with something you're struggling with, if that makes sense. So if you're having trouble sleeping, maybe there's a recipe that is geared towards if you have this before you go to sleep, it'll help you sleep better. Or if you're needing more energy before a workout, or if you're needing recovery better afterwards, or a million different things in this book that she explains kind of overall health and nutrition and how your macros work and carbs, fats, proteins, what's going to be the best combination of things for what your goals are. But the coolest twist is that she interviews pro athletes and dietitians to give their input on what their favorite meal is and what their favorite recipe is. And it's kind of also an interview about something that they struggled with and overcame in their career. It's a very cool book, and I've never heard of anything like it.
Yeah, it's awesome. So she was going to Duke. She was running. Was it cross country?
Track and cross country.
track.
Steeplechase is her best event, so that's track, but she also does cross country.
Okay, she was running track and cross country, and at the same time writing a book.
She took a class that helped write the book, and it's a really cool class because you can enter it at different levels, I believe. And there's one where it's like you sign up to actually work with a publisher and have an editor for your book, and they kind of help you step by step along the way. But what an amazing experience and way to start. And I don't know that she's going to do another book. You know, she's not like, I'm going to be an author for the rest of my life. She just was really passionate about this subject because of how much of an impact it's had on her and her life as an athlete, that she was like, I just need this to exist in the world for other athletes who don't have what I wish I had.
Yeah, and kind of the catalyst from that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I guess it was probably 2017. She had an incident where she was in a coma for a while. And
Yeah.
what exactly happened?
Close. It was 2018, and it was the night before the state cross country meet in Texas, and she had made it all the way to the finals and was projected to be in like the top 4 of the state. This is 6A, like most difficult level of competition in high school sports. And the night before, she just her calves started cramping and started getting nauseated, and she ended up starting to throw up a bunch. And then her coaches were like, yeah, just, rest. Maybe you ate something bad, like go relax. And the next time her coaches came back from the team dinner, came up to check on her, she was unresponsive to what they were saying and then started convulsing and then went into, I think she was had a medically induced coma for almost 3 days because she had been trying to fix her diet into a perfect combination of the right macros, and she didn't factor in saline. She did not put salt in her food. She was doing this all by herself. She didn't have a nutritionist. Like, she was just, YouTubing. What's the best way to eat, basically. And she cut out too much salt from her diet and was overhydrating, was sweating out all of the salt. And what happens when you don't have the right saline levels is your brain swells. And then in the hospital, they had to slow drip saline back into her bloodstream because she couldn't. It also makes your brain swell when you increase the saline level. So that's why they had her in the medically induced coma, because it took a very long time to slow drip the saline back to the right level. But it was the scariest thing, our family's really experienced, because if her coaches hadn't found her and her brain had just kept swelling in that hotel room, don't even want to think about what could have happened. But her brain was definitely affected for a long time and took a while to heal back to normal. And so now that the fact that she's able to run again and is back competing at the level, she's running in like USA's, which is against our Olympians, our gold medal Olympians. That's who she's running against. It's the most impressive thing to watch. But what a story of perseverance and not letting something like that scare you away.
Yeah.
So she had a lot, and that's all in the book. Like, she writes about all that.
Yeah. I mean, what was that like? I feel like we were together. Maybe you were supposed to be going to Mexico or something, and that happened. But did you just get a call? Was it sudden?
Yeah, my parents called, and I booked a flight immediately and just flew to it. Actually, we were in Austin because that's where the meet was. Because we're from Houston, but they had the meet. It was at UT, and so I ended up just booking a flight to Austin. That as soon as my parents told me, and flying there that day.
Yeah, that's a flight you don't want to take.
Oh my gosh. My older sister did the same thing. Flew in from London. Like, as soon as she got the call, booked a flight, flew back from London.
Yeah. That's I've always worried over these years, like I'm gonna get a call, I have to fly for something like that. It happened with my best friend Adam that died. And it was pretty brutal. It's like I was,
That's how it happens, though. You
Yeah.
think about so many things in life where you hear about a tragedy or this or that, and it's all just, eventually the phone calls have to go out and people have to find out one way or another. And I am constantly, like, I've got my list of goals and gratitude that I, read in the mornings, and there is always one that's I'm thankful for, my health and my family, but I'm really thankful for my family's health. I'm thankful for my friends. I'm thankful for my friends' health. Like, it's always an extra thing I add in there because I don't want that phone call either ever again.
I mean, we live busy lives where we're traveling and we're working on our careers and those type of things. But, the fact that you jumped on the plane, of course you would.
Yeah.
No question. But it's easy sometimes to, forget what's important, and I think that with the way social media is these days and let's call it the Instagram or TikTok culture, where it's all about, the views and these type of things, we lose the human connection with each other. We don't lose it necessarily, like you didn't lose it with your family. Of course, you got on a plane right away. But people see these, these clips of the best parts of our
A
life.
highlight reel. Yeah.
But I think sometimes maybe people forget what's super important, and those type of instances are a good reminder of all that.
2018 as a whole, the reason why I remembered exactly, I was like, it's 2018, because there were a lot of things that happened that year that, I was for sure a changed person. The very beginning of 2018 is when Laurie White passed away. And I know I've told you about her, but she was my publisher, my producer, my Nashville mom. I lived with her when I didn't have a place to stay during my summers at Vanderbilt. She taught me how to write a song, introduced me to people in the industry in Nashville. Just everything about her was like what I wanted to be when I grow up. She was just brilliant, kind, beautiful, loved everyone else, just a light. And she was diagnosed with cancer in September and died in January,
Mm.
and had, you know, 3 children, an amazing husband, Chuck Cannon. The whole family was just rocked. And so and I remember calling you, and I tried to tell them to call you about going to Tijuana or going to Chipsa, but it just already had progressed so far, and everything was happening so fast for them.
Mhm.
I mean, just think about that timeline, September to January. Um, it's when nobody's an expert and they're having to make all these decisions,
Mhm.
and they're just trying to trust whatever information they can get the fastest by someone who they think they trust the most. It's all of it was very eye-opening to me because I watched it happen firsthand, and I was somewhat, I was family with them. I was over there every day. So it's not often when it's a person who's actually in your everyday life that happens to.
Mhm.
Um, but that was the same year. So I just remember there were a few gut checks that year where I was like, nothing really matters more than your relationships with the people that you love, because what else really is there? I mean, money's money. Money comes, money goes.
Yeah.
You want to have it to have your basic survival covered, but once you've got that covered, like, you know, spend time with the people who you love and who love you. It's just important.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think about it a lot, especially now with my parents getting older, you
Mhm.
know, would, because I do work so much,
Yeah.
but at what point do you
Yeah.
have to dial it back a little bit, to take care of, to make sure you don't have regrets when they eventually go? Because that's all,
Yeah.
it's all going to happen. Your parents still younger. Um, but, so you got a lot more years, and hopefully I have a lot more years with my parents, but
Yeah.
it's really been the last couple of years fresh on my mind.
Mhm.
And, and we deal with a lot of death,
Yeah.
at the hospital. I mean, I've experienced so much of that. Uh, Not necessarily with a close friend like you had in 2018, but so much of seeing people at the
You
end.
get close to those patients though.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I've even felt, going for a week felt close to some people, and you deal with it for months and years. And
Yes.
then, things sometimes get better and sometimes don't get better. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine how you do what you do, but the world's a better place for it.
Yeah.
And
Thanks.
there's just a balance of, you have to have purpose also in your life, and you have to have meaning in your life. So you can't just chase, the good time of hanging out with your friends or your family. Like, you have to also have some goals and passions and
Sure.
things like that. So just trying to have a balance. I'm not gonna cancel a concert that I have just to go hang out with my parents,
Sure.
but I canceled my CMA Fest shows because Emily was running in the national championship.
Yeah.
This might be the last time in Emily's life she's running in a national championship.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna miss watching one of the biggest moments of her life for a CMA Fest show I'm gonna play next year too.
Sure.
If I'm lucky, knock on wood, anything can happen, but like, gotta just weigh it out. And I'm like, okay, I believe I'm gonna have more of these. I don't know if there will be more of these. She's important to me. I'm gonna go.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things about you I have a lot of respect for, because you do work really hard, but you have I'm gonna say common sense. I don't know if it's common sense, but the logic of that, to where you know what's important, and what's not, and you can break it down. And I think that's really respectable.
It's hard to define like what's success and what's better, because I tell myself all the time, like, all right, Michael Jackson, pinnacle of music success. would I want that life? Would I want to experience what he was experiencing and everything that happened? Absolutely not, you know? So there are trade offs for every different thing. There are some people who I'm like, okay, the way Taylor Swift has done it, beautiful. I feel like she has maintained a level of connection with her family and friends while reaching the peak of musical success. So, you know, there are different routes to take, but I'm like, musical success can't be everything because there are
Sure.
tons of people with musical success who I wouldn't choose that life.
Sure. That makes
So,
sense. Yeah, I mean, I guess so, and you're at where you're at now, but you had that understanding before. I mean, talking about 2018, uh, your experience with Lori, your experience with your sister. What was like? So let's go through the years here of being in Nashville. So when did you start actually playing music in Nashville?
probably probably 2015, and terrible music was being played. I mean, I was just trying to figure out how to play guitar,
Hmm.
you know, how to write a song. And I was already a writer. I wrote a novel in high school. I won a bunch of poetry contests. So I already loved words and I loved storytelling and painting a picture. But poetry, as much as I thought it would be really similar to songwriting, is very different
Okay,
from songwriting.
interesting.
And you know, it takes time to learn those differences and how to really craft a song. And then on top of that, finding your own voice. What do you really want to say? What types of feelings do you want your listeners to have after a song?
Hmm.
And all of that just takes time. None of that just happens immediately. And you know, I would love for someone to show me a child wonder who became huge by the age of 18 or 16 or whatever, who hadn't already spent their whole life writing songs. You know, they're
Hmm.
the kinds of people who you see songwriting books from when they were 4 years old and they'd been playing guitar since they could walk, like that type of thing. Yeah, it happens, but they really did put time in on the front end. So I believe in that 10,000 hours rule, and it's like, okay, I didn't start till later, but like I'm going to put those 10,000 hours in as fast as I can
Right.
to try and catch up.
Yeah. So you started 2015. When did you start playing at South?
Probably then.
That was then. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, cuz I remember um John Gurney and Fillmore had their duo at the time,
Oh
and
wow. Yeah.
they asked look at the lookout.
Yep.
And they asked me to come sing a writer's round. Actually, it was Drew
Drew
Dixon
Dixon.
asked
Yep.
me to sing the first round, and I didn't know anybody and I didn't know anything, and I'm sure it was just cute, you know, watching little Vandy Julia sing a song, but
With your South hat.
with my South
Did you
hat. I
have your South hat
love
on the
that
first time?
hat. I'm sure. Actually, they hadn't given it to me
I
yet
see.
as like a because I at that point probably became a regular. I was just like, I love this place.
Yeah, that was a fun place. South was like, 'cause, living in Nashville my whole life, you go through like different iterations of
Mhm.
groups of musicians that go in through the bar and music scene per se, and that was a really cool group. A lot of people that we're obviously still friends with. Um, I
I
miss that
always felt
place.
like the baby. I felt like they were all really in the industry, and I was just trying to like the little sister trying to hang out with the older siblings, and they're just like, you know, you're not here yet, but like one day.
Right.
And it's fun because I think now in my career I have more of a songwriting collaborative experience with a lot of them rather than little baby Julia.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, then so South ended up closing, but you were obviously that actually kind of where you got your start in Nashville, and then talk about the evolution. Since then, let's go from let's say 2000, 15 to 2020. Um, I'm sure in that 5-year period, you can think of different steps or different goals you accomplished. And
Mhm.
let's kind of walk through that. So, what would you say the next step? 2015, you're playing at South. What happened next?
So interesting how my career has unfolded because it's bizarre the way that everything's kind of happened, and I really didn't know what I was doing, and I think part of that did add this, like, ignorance is bliss element to it. I wasn't scared of anything, I was just super confident that, like, "Whatever, if everyone else can do it, I can do it, like, why not?" And I think that it's cool that I never grew up around pressure from anyone else's musical success. It was like no one in my life I had ever met was involved in the music industry.
Hmm.
So everything I was doing was just cool and fun and exciting. So I remember from the start, I was just doing kind of outlandish, fun things. And it's how I got a lot of deals kind of quickly.
Hmm.
Before I graduated from Vandy, I had a manager, I had a publisher, and I had an agent, and I was signed to CAA, one of the biggest agencies in the world. And it was all none of it came because I just had an incredible song. That was never it. It was the work ethic and it was the I guess I stood out because I wasn't scared to just be me and they could tell I was really authentic. But I think it was also because I came at it from an entrepreneur mindset rather than just a creative's mindset. And it was helpful. And I think all of those people, the reason why Chuck and Laurie signed me that publishing deal, really, I think was more because I had written a novel in high school.
Hmm.
And they were like, okay, there's perseverance, work ethic there, and obviously writing passion. We can teach her how to write a song because they are hit songwriters, you know? So that's how that one came about. And then I remember Blake McDaniel saw me at a CMA Fest writers round, and he was my agent at CAA. He saw me perform with a group called the Song Suffragettes, and it was just this group. Todd Cassidy started this company that supported, young female songwriters, and it was just all female writers rounds. So he had a stage for CMA Fest, and he got to pick just, 5 different girls to come up and play some songs, and he asked me to come play. We got to sing with Dina
Hmm.
Carter, and she sang Strawberry Wine
Hmm.
with us there on stage. She was kind of the icon on the stage, and then there were 4 of us, just newcomers. And I was singing in it was the CMA close-up stage, I think. And so there were probably, I don't know, 500 to 1,000 people who were gathered around to watch. Mostly Dina Carter probably sing Strawberry Wine, but we were the additional ones on stage with her. And I was wearing a hat with a GoPro on it.
Hmm.
And I was singing one of my really fun, party songs and just got the whole crowd participating. And I was using the GoPro as like, y'all are on camera too, like you're part of the show or whatever. And Blake was at that show. And so I got signed to CAA, not because my songs were incredible or anything like that, but it was just that maybe bravery, crowd interaction, whatever that was. And then I remember my first management deal, he just couldn't believe the fact that I had a business plan.
Hmm.
Like I had a paper printed out, like full binder business plan.
Mm-hmm.
So none of those happened because my music was amazing. And it's cool that I've had time to look back and learn from that. And when everything really started to take off for me, career wise, industry wise, fans listening to my songs, millions of streams, now we're at 200 million streams. All of that came from when I finally started to focus on the craft and actually digging into the songs, making sure I really pick a melody that's going to serve the song and not just show off a part of a range of your voice. It's a totally different intention behind where my focus is going. It's more about the art and the song. And that's when everything actually started to work for me. So it's backwards from what I think a lot of other people in the music industry have. They maybe hate the business side and hate the having to interact with the crowds or do the social media or do whatever that side of it is. But I started out with that because it was stuff that I had already learned. It was what I was studying in school. It was just maybe easier because I didn't know how to write a song yet. And then when I finally focused, it just changed everything.
Yeah, when was that? Like, so, when did you see the kind of the rise in fans and people listening to your music?
COVID happened, and I was forced to stop being just the hustle workhorse. I was forced to sit back. All my touring got canceled. Everyone's did. And I had to figure something else out. And it gave me this period of reflection on the songs and the music. And instead of spending every weekend out playing in some bar somewhere, I was writing more, going back through the songs I had written and revisiting ones, making them better, actually picking, this is a really awesome lyric. Let's tease this on social media. And I got to kind of test my songs on socials and start gearing it more towards what people were interacting with and engaging with because it was reaching people. The message of that lyric was so much more than anything else I had been doing. And then specifically, it was a song I put out called Side Piece. And it's a funny title, but the song is actually like, I hate that it's so relatable for a lot of people, but it's a cheating song that a lot of people just immediately grabbed onto. I posted a video singing it on TikTok, went to sleep, and I woke up with millions of views. About 30,000 people made their own videos singing the song, knew every word to it. And those videos all had 500,000 views, 200,000 views. So it was a true viral moment and experience. And it had nothing to do with me. It was the song. It was the lyric that resonated with people. And it just changed my perspective completely. I stopped focusing on Music Row. I stopped focusing on the business, the industry, any of that. And I was like, all that matters is a great song and connecting with someone who needs that song.
Yeah.
So that was, what year? COVID.
That was COVID.
2020.
That's around, when did, I remember you and I going over to Jelly's office, where my friend Adrian Michaels was over there with
John Loba.
Yeah, Loba. And what did you learn from Jelly? During and you got to know him then, but you've
yes,
got to know him since too.
I admire him so much, and I learned that you don't have to do it the way everyone else says you have to do it. You have to do it in a way that's authentic to you. And when you're giving your listeners, your fans, your community something that they can relate to and something that they can use to get through something tough in their life, it builds a family with your fan base in a way that's so passionate that no matter what the industry says, your fans have your back. And I'd never seen it the way that he did it. And I could tell listening to their conversations that the dynamic was just different. It wasn't artist begging the industry for a shot. It was industry begging the artist to let them be a part of the journey. And I was like, this is what I want. This is awesome.
That's the way to flip it. Yeah, no, it's been wild watching him since then, become one of the biggest artists in country music.
Truly. And it's funny because you and I both know that that happened before the record deal.
Mhm.
That happened before country radio deemed him worthy. He already was almost selling out Bridgestone.
Yeah.
And then 1 year into his career with label radio is now being called a superstar. I mean, he was selling tons of tickets. And like the hard ticket is how a lot of people in the industry really call something successful.
Mhm.
He can outsell people who have way more number ones than he does.
Oh, yeah.
Ticket wise. That's real fans. That's people who want to go there and experience everything about him, not just one song.
Yeah, I was talking to Adrian about it, and he's like, "Yeah, he's worldwide." He was telling me, I forget the different countries that he's, like, I guess, trending in or
Mm-hmm.
doing well in, and it's been incredible because you're talking about a guy who worked his butt off. I mean, the adversity that he had to overcome
Mm.
is incredible, but in his past, but since he has been working on music, I mean, he was living out of a van, just grinding away. I think he said, I had him on my old podcast a few years ago, and I think he said he had 30 something, 31, 32 records he put out, and before anybody really took him serious.
And he
And
was just doing what was true to him. He didn't care about the genre. He didn't start doing country music because he thought, oh, if I cross over to country music, this is going to work. He just put out a beautiful song that happened to fall into the country genre and go extremely viral on the internet because people already knew that everything he was singing about was truly him
mhm.
from all of his past material. But it's almost like I've never seen anyone else do it except maybe like Kid Rock,
Mm.
where it just doesn't matter what the genre is.
Yeah.
It's just so true and authentic that you can put any type of background music you want. It's just believable and makes you feel understood and like you really know the person.
Well, yeah, and he he connects so much with the audience. I remember when "Save Me" came out. I think it
You
was.
showed me that song before it was anywhere. You were
Yeah,
like, "Look, listen to
listen to
this."
this. I remember texting him. I think it was like July 2020. I could be off a little bit, but I said, "Bro, you might win a Grammy for this." And I don't know how. This is so good. And fast forward 3 years later, the song is being re-released with Lainey Wilson, and it wouldn't shock me if he was nominated for a Grammy for it and maybe wins.
Such a good song.
Yeah, so good. Have you seen the documentary he did?
I need to sit down and watch the whole thing. I've seen parts,
Yeah.
but I need to sit down and watch the whole
Oh
thing.
my gosh, I cried.
I know I'm gonna cry the whole time. I'm
That's
like,
good. Yeah, do it
I
by
have to be
yourself.
ready when I'm ready for that. You
Have
know
a
what I mean? It's
tissue.
a mental mindset. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to just cry tonight.
Yeah, no, I did. There was so many. I was like 4 or 5 times in the documentary. I mean, because he just connects with people, and you see the impact that he's had on their lives,
Mhm.
and he's so honest. Like he says things like, he's a good example of just pure authenticity. This is who I am, and I don't care what people think, and I'm a good person, and I'm doing the best I can. I have all these struggles, but here I am, world.
Mhm.
It's pretty inspiring.
It's extremely inspiring. And everybody has their thing. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's going through something. And when you can watch someone overcome as much as he's overcome and as much as other people in his community have overcome and built because they believe in each other and love each other and work together, it's like that's goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. It's about your people.
Yeah.
Who do you love and who loves you? And when y'all focus your time and energy on building each other up and being there for each other, it should, in theory, help both of your dreams thrive. And I'm thinking relationships, friendships,
Yeah.
whatever it is, it's about that community. I don't believe that human beings were meant to ever be alone.
No.
I don't think that's what our species was. That's not what our natural instinct is
No.
for survival.
No, that's, you think about like this, I think of like the spirit of Nashville. I think he embodies that. But a lot of people, I don't think they realize how the people that are the most successful, and there's anomalies every now and then, but they have a group of friends and people around them that are happy for them and supporting them.
Hmm.
Whereas, there's a lot of people get around other people that are haters, on the side, and they
Yeah.
surround themselves with that type of energy. But you think about all of our friends. I don't know anybody that's not happy for you. I don't know anybody that's not happy for Jelly. I don't know anybody that's not happy for all of our friends in the music industry. We're all celebrating when our friends are doing well.
Hmm.
It's like living in gratitude. Uh, really is the way to be.
It's interesting when you're in the entertainment industry and your success is public or your failure is public, but it's really not that different than someone else's whose dreams are whatever to be a partner at their law firm or someone who just really really wants kids and maybe has had a hard time having kids. Just when there's people in your life who have a goal or a dream or just anything they're passionate about, you should be happy for them when they get that, whether it be this public entertainment business success or just as simple as finally finding someone who loves them that they can get married to. I mean, it doesn't matter to me what the thing is, but if you love someone, like you're going to support them
Yeah.
when they get something that they've been working towards.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think that it really does embody Nashville.
This
It
town's
it
awesome.
really is. It really is. You hear these stories of the negativity in other places, and I guess
Mhm.
it can be in any place. But overall, I mean, that's how I was raised here.
More community based than it
Absolutely.
is like this isolated competition thing, which I think the places you're and when you say other places,
Like
I'm like
LA, New
LA, New
York.
York.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Nashville is like I'm as soon as I started doing stuff like that South scene we were talking about. Like I was the little kid, but I still was getting invited to stuff like
Yeah.
come watch our thing, come hang out with whatever. Let's write a song.
Yeah.
And in other places, I don't know that it's as welcoming. There's not that open door policy of like, why not try it out?
Yeah. No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, and some of the iconic places in Nashville kind of move to this segue. Uh, you played at the Grand Ole Opry for the first time. It was probably, 2 years ago? Is that about
It
right?
was last year.
Last year.
It was last year.
I
And
was in Mexico. I flew back for it.
oh my gosh, it was just the best. It was the best day ever. I got to sing a song that I wrote for my grandma, Maudie, to her at the Opry. And I got to wear my grandfather Poppy's clothing. He passed away shortly before my debut, but he loved the Opry and country music more than anybody. And this shirt and this belt, this is all Poppy's fabric. Like every bit of my wardrobe since then has been incorporating Poppy because he was country music in
Mm.
our family and the biggest fan of the Opry. So I asked him if I could wear something of his on stage before he passed away because I knew I was going to get to do my debut. And he gave me all his old Western wear shirts. So I got to have him with me on stage. He made his debut looking down, and I sang that song to Maudie. So it was just such a family moment. There were
Mhm.
40 people from Texas and Louisiana, where I'm from, that came to my debut.
Yeah.
And it just felt like it wasn't just for me, it was like all of us made it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it takes a, village,
Hmm.
and that was it, and what was it like? Because you had just experienced, his passing and, uh, when you got onto stage and you're looking at the crowd and you're playing the Grand Ole Opry, which is the most historic place, uh, for country music that there is, what was that like?
I definitely cried on stage. Could not keep it together. I tried to. Um, but it was magical. It's the most nervous I've ever been for a performance because it was you know how some people say it's easier to sing in front of a big crowd than it is in front of like your closest community of people because you care more about what they think. This was not only a big crowd and my first time on this iconic stage, but also everybody from my family who maybe a lot of them hadn't really even seen me perform. You know, it's like people who it's not more than just my immediate family. I'm like, this is my chance to like show them what I've been working so hard for and give them this piece of country music that is part of who I am. And it was just so nerve-wracking and so beautiful all at the same time. And I just remember so many people, I'm so thankful for this. So many people warned me, make sure you take it all in. Don't let it just fly by because it's going to fly by and you don't want to, you hear people being like, gosh, I kind of just blacked out for it. Like it just happened and it was over. Because the Grand Ole Opry, you only get to do, for your debut, you only get to do 2 songs. And I mean, that's short compared to when you're used to doing 60-minute shows or 90-minute shows. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to take a moment. And I really did. In between the 2 songs, I was like, y'all just give me a second. And I just looked around and I just felt, you know, I was standing in that circle, just felt the spirit of Johnny Cash and Dolly Parton and Elvis Presley and everybody who stood in that circle, Loretta Lynn. I was like, okay, I have been invited into this country music family now. This is my family too now. And it was just magical.
That's awesome. What did your grandmother say to you after that show?
Oh my gosh. My whole family was crying so much, and Maudie especially. But Maudie I always say that she's got God on speed dial. I feel like straight up, if you need a prayer to go through, like ask Maudie to pray for it because there's a different level of communication going on there. She had a liver transplant at age 52, and she's 79 now. And I actually wrote that song originally for her 75th birthday. She just was so thankful that Poppy got to be a part of it too, because they were married since she was 20, 19 or 20. And this was her first few months without him. He had just passed away. And it felt like he still got to be with us there. And I think she was thankful for that and just proud.
Yeah. It's always amazing when you get to bring in your family and do things special for them. I mean, that's a special thing. Someone's married that long and you can only imagine. It's their whole life. My parents have been married 51 years.
Wow.
So I can only imagine.
That's incredible.
It is.
Please hug them and tell them congrats from me.
I will. Yeah, last year was, I think it's 51 mid-September. I should know the date. But
it's coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up. But, I can't imagine my dad without my mom or my mom without my dad.
Yeah.
And because they really become one. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, it's impactful. It's meaningful that you would do that. And you're still doing it. You're still doing it.
I'm lucky.
Yeah. Very, very, very blessed. So that night, though, did you play with Chip as well?
So I have done the Opry a lot of times with Chip, but your Opry debut is when the Opry asks you specifically to come out and sing.
I see.
So that one was just me.
Well, I think I just misspoke because I remember I couldn't fly out because of something at the hospital. I think it was. So that was the one I missed. I felt guilty. But I've seen you with Chip at the Grand Ole Opry.
Yes.
How did you meet Chip?
For those of y'all wondering, Chip is Charles Esten.
Okay.
He's the actor he plays Deacon Claiborne in Nashville and Ward Cameron in Outer Banks. So, and a bunch of other roles also. He's in Whose Line Is It Anyway in The Office. But we became very close friends, and he asked me to sing our duet together at the Opry. And our duet had another really crazy viral moment. That one video of us singing that song has like 15.3 million views on it.
Nice.
Um, so that's stemmed a whole not only stint of Opry performances together, but we just did a tour together too.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I didn't even know the whole Outer Banks thing with him. We were at a party together, and they said, "Oh, you got to check out Outer Banks." I thought Outer Banks was the show from like the '90s or 2000. I forget what it was. I was thinking that it was, and they're like, "Oh no, it's this show." I'm like, "Oh," and then my other friend said it was like the top show on Netflix at the time.
Every time a new season comes out, it's the number one trending number one trending Netflix show for a very long period of time. Like, and that's really hard to do when Netflix is. I'm not going to say it's quantity over quality, but it's definitely quantity, a lot of quantity, and there's always something new coming out. So for it to be number one for a really long reigning period, every time a new season comes out, it's a big deal.
Yeah, and I watched. So I told him I would watch it, and then I binge watched the damn thing. I could not stop watching it. I'm like, where's the treasure?
You could have been a character on that show.
Well, what would I have done?
You could have just been like I don't know, but being like a beach
bum,
but like they're all secretly doing crazy cool stuff.
Yeah, they're pretty wild.
You're gonna like find the hidden treasure, and I could just see it.
Well, I mean,
you're always tan. You've got the tan for it. So
thanks. When I get sunburn, people always say, "Oh my gosh, you're so red." I'm like, I'm 3% Native American. Please don't say I'm red. But no. So yeah, that was cool though, and I know y'all have worked together a lot since, and you're always doing stuff together. How was the tour?
It was so much fun. We went out with my band and we played this really cool duo headline show. So we co-headlined, and I did my set, he did his set, and in between, all kind of throughout, and then also for the last third of the show, we did a ton of duets. And it's fun because no shows that I ever go out on my own will ever be the same. Because I can't do all those duets by myself. And even if I did, it's just not going to have the same impact. And we did like Islands in the Stream and Shallow and just tons of cool Walk Away Joe. Fun songs that I might not have ever done just on my own. I might not have ever even tried to cover something like that. So it was fun for me musically too, to like look into more of the type of music he would want to sing, and him as well, vice versa. He was like, "Oh, like this is a cool song. Let's do this one too." And it was a great experience. I love his wife, Patty, with all my heart. She is an angel. We had to beg her to stay out on the road with us. She's like, "I got to go back and take care of the dogs." And my whole band was like, "Patty, we can't do this without you." And so she got another dog sitter and just stayed.
Well, that's awesome.
But yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, that's they're cool people, and it's awesome to see you know, getting 15 million views on a duet. It's a great song. You did another duet though too.
I have a whole duet album.
Oh,
so that might be what you're thinking of.
There was one big one.
The first big one was called "Things I Can't Say."
Okay.
With Spencer Crandall.
Yes, Spencer. That's right.
Yes. So that was our first song on Hot Country on Spotify, which is like a big Spotify playlist. So it was really exciting for the two of us because it was both of our first one on there.
I see. And you were mentioning you have about 200 million downloads. How does that work? Like for the music industry, like there's iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Is it which ones do they combine for that?
So 200 million streams.
I'm showing my age. Downloads.
Well, you can also have downloads, but most people don't go to iTunes anymore because they use a streaming platform. And even if you save something on your Spotify or Apple, it's still not. It's not usually technically called a download, because download usually means sale, where someone spent $1 on the song or $1.99 or whatever you price your song at. But if you have it just streamed or saved, um, those, I don't know what the exact translation is numbers wise, but it doesn't count the same. Like one iTunes save is worth more than a big chunk of streams. I don't know what the conversion is,
Mhm.
but it's because their theory on that is if someone buys a song, that one person's going to consume it over and over and over again, and you're never going to know the amount. Versus a stream, that was one listen,
I see.
and that person may or may not ever go back to that song again.
I see. So, you know, with your music now, you were talking about you're working on the craft more.
Mhm.
Uh, do you think about the combinations of songs like for albums that you're putting out in the future? How does that work? Does it go off of what you're dealing with in life? What's the thought process behind that?
Previously, I had just been putting out song after song after song, and I kind of studied Russ. He's a rapper, and I saw something where he literally posted his TuneCore statements and showed how much money he was making as an independent artist owning his masters. And he said, "I just started posting a song a week,
Hmm.
and this is my trajectory and how much money I'm making." And it was like crazy. And so I was like, okay, maybe there is something to this consistency for a few different reasons. One, your craft is going to get better. You're working harder at it because you need them to come out more quickly. Two, your fans always know that something's coming. So they're going to come back and be expecting a new song from you. And simultaneously, it might remind them of your catalog and then they go back and consume the other music again. Who knows? Three, they might only like one song, but if that song never came out, you'd never have that fan. So the more songs you have out, you're kind of giving more people a chance to fall in love with your music because they really resonated with that one lyric
Mhm.
or whatever the story is. So for a lot of reasons, I was like, this makes sense. I have a lot of songs. I'm not putting them out. It's breaking my heart that these songs are just sitting on a voice memo on my phone and the world has never heard any of them. Because I only had a couple of songs out probably when I learned or had studied this. I was like, I'm just gonna start putting things out. Actually, I remember I had this little acoustic mixtape out that was terrible. I think it was literally called it was called the Tex Mix. No, not that. What was it called? I don't know, but it was a mixtape. There were demos, like these weren't productions. But I had that little 8-song thing out. And then I only had maybe side piece and things I can't say. And I was like, okay, I need to start putting more songs out. I don't need to wait 6 months between releases or 4 months, even, whatever it is. So I started really trying to be consistent with my releases and make acoustic versions and put out cover songs and just continuously give people music to consume. And that's when I think I started to really find out one, what was resonating with people more, and two, what I was liking the most in creation, and also what, practice really does always help you improve. And I was doing it more and more and more. And we were finding our favorite mixers and guitar players and drummers. And simultaneously, my producer was getting better because we were doing all of this stuff together. And we just kind of started to grow. And that process just was exponential and it just kept growing.
Yeah, and so, now, and forgive me, I just listen to your music. I don't know if it's an album or what. So are you putting out albums or
For the first 2 albums, I just put out Country Sugar, which is a 14-song album, and prior to that, I put out, the Julia Cole album, self-titled album,
sure?
and that's 12 songs. And, I also put out an acoustic album of that first project, so every one of those songs done in
Oh,
an acoustic
nice,
version, and I'm about to put out the acoustic version of the Country Sugar album.
awesome.
So, yes, I have albums, but I still put every one of those songs out individually first as a single and then just packaged it.
Okay, that's why it's confusing to me.
And I didn't necessarily plan it as an album, but the songs do go together.
Mhm.
And I try to put them in an order on the album where they take you through in like a easily digestible musical order
Mhm.
where it makes sense, where you bring people up where you want them to go up, and then this is the moment for them to sit back and kind of hear a sad song. And I try to make it the same way I put a set list together for a show. It's
Mhm.
kind of how I put my album together. But after finishing that, I have wanted for this next project to be more specific about the project I'm doing next.
Mhm.
Instead of just putting it together kind of like a set list for a show, really putting it together like an album. And I don't know if it'll be a full 12 song album or whatever that I do that with, but I definitely want to have maybe the EPs are done a little bit more intentionally where it's like, no, this era is for a purpose.
Mhm.
And then this one. Because now I've got a ton of songs. So instead of just releasing them all in a random order, being more intentional about this order is coming out first, then this, so that people can live in a moment with me.
Mhm.
And then we all go to that next moment together rather than kind of bringing them wherever my music happens to take them next week.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of like an evolution of a career, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because you started out uh, doing a song at a time, and then you started out putting a song a week, or however often you
Mm-hmm.
were doing the songs. I mean, one of the things that sticks out to me, and you kind of touched on it, but I've told you this: your music has gotten so much more mature as the time has gone. You've
Mm-hmm.
always been a mature person, personally, at least from my experience. I mean, sometimes you can wow out a little bit, but
What do you mean? I never do.
right. But you've always had maturity, but I can see it in your songwriting and see it in your music, and hear the difference of what it was then and now. Um, what do you think the evolution's kind of going to go to? Like when you envision yourself a year from now, 5 years from now, where do you see yourself?
I think as I go, everything's just getting more refined. Like, I feel like I've always had the right intentions and the right idea, but it's really honing in on cutting out distractions, cutting out pieces that don't fit in the puzzle, and just smoothing out the rough edges. Obviously, the more life you experience, the more things you can write about honestly with real memories to put that imagery into a song. And from what I've seen over the last couple of years of my songwriting to even the last couple of months of my songwriting, hallelujah, it's just getting better and better.
Hmm.
Like, thank goodness. Because I listened back to something that maybe 2018 me had written, and it's just like, God bless. Like, just adorable because everything, again, the intentions were right. They're not bad,
Sure.
but that depth just isn't there. And again, I wasn't focused on the songs. And that's where I was wrong because at the end of the day, this town will tell you it over and over and over again, but I'm a stubborn person. It took a minute to get through my thick skull. It's all about the song at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The music's everything.
No, it is, and yeah, I mean, it's you can see it in your music now. I mean, not saying I didn't like your music, but it wasn't, your the early songs
It
weren't.
was like party music.
Yeah, it
It
wasn't
was
exactly
like
my thing.
frat party music.
But now I listen, I'm like, oh, that's really good, or oh, that's good hook there. That's it's
Thank you.
there's it's got a lot more substance, to it. Not saying that stuff in the past wasn't good, but I'm saying it's really good.
I think people can be it's that whole jack of all trades, master of none. You can focus your attention in 10 different places and be okay at all of it. But until you really hyper focus on one thing, the improvement is just not going to be going as quickly in that area as it would be as if you focused. And I just have really, really focused on the songs over really since COVID, when I realized that a song could connect to that many people so quickly on social media, and it had nothing to do with money behind it. It had nothing to do with a highly produced video. It had nothing to do with some crazy production. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It was the song.
Well, a good example of that the world's seeing right now is Oliver Anthony.
Right? Case in point. Exactly.
I mean, that song, it is so good.
It's breaking the internet.
It's breaking it.
It's funny you say this. I just was looking him up with somebody yesterday because we were like, what is happening with this? He has like 6 million monthly listeners, and that song has like 50 million streams already or something crazy. And I was like, he just started. Like, it took me this long to get, like, I've had 1 million monthly listeners for the last like year, and that's just Spotify. So it's more on other platforms.
He didn't even have a Spotify.
That's crazy.
He didn't even have a Spotify before he started.
His Spotify doesn't say Oliver Anthony. It says Oliver Anthony Music.
Oh wow.
That's how new you can tell he is to it. It's not an Instagram handle. It's like, it's supposed to be your name, you know?
Right.
And it's cool though. Like, we live in a very amazing era that's the Wild West of music, where the fans can pick what they want.
Well, and when you listen to that song, what I love about it, so I used to love listening to the protest music from the 60s during the Vietnam era and the early 70s. And, when COVID happened, I was disappointed that nobody really wrote a lot about the things that I was experiencing in life.
Yeah.
And I think people were,
Afraid to.
Yeah, afraid to, and it's so polarizing. And, it happened to Oliver Anthony. They said, oh, like if you were to read a lot of the headlines, it doesn't match what people are saying. But the headlines are far right, right wing or this, right wing or that.
Interesting.
Which isn't even the case. I mean, they did some hit jobs on them. If you listen to the whole song, I mean, it's about a lot of issues that the blue collar workers can really relate to. I mean, it's so relatable to everybody who's experienced that. I'm doing well now, but I could think of, times when I was growing up, my parents were, we weren't wealthy at all. They weren't wealthy at all. And when my dad had his accident, I think that we probably could have gone on welfare, and my parents never would do it. They're like, we're not doing it. And I'm not knocking somebody for having to do that at some point, but I'm saying that they always were like, they would, I'd say look down, but yeah, they would look down on people that would milk the system. Had nothing to do with those that really needed the help, but there are those that milk the system. And so I totally got what he was saying.
Oh, I can't wait to go look at these lyrics, because I've only heard little, like, whatever, 20-second TikTok clips or whatever of the song.
The whole song.
I'm going to just pull up a lyric sheet and look at it. Because I will probably just be at the end of the day, like I was saying, the reverse of poetry, like finding the poetry in it, it's going to be cool.
He calls out Epstein.
Really?
Oh, yes. I wish politicians would look out for miners, like coal miners, and not just miners on an island somewhere.
Shut up.
Oh, yeah. We got folks on the street, they ain't got nothing to eat.
At the end of the day, he's a brilliant songwriter.
Oh, it's one of the most brilliant songs I've heard in a long time. It was 3 days in a row of my life before bed. Laura was out of town, so sitting there all by myself in my bed, watching these at night before sleep, watching the reaction videos to people, a couple hours a night, 3 nights in a row, just because I enjoyed it. So I liked watching every walk of life, from white, black, Latino, watch the video from the first time, left, right, and see them impacted. I'd say about a quarter of the people cried, maybe 20% of the people cried, just first time watching it. Because the lyrics are so impactful, you can connect to it, which was the polar opposite of what the media was saying. That it was, I saw one headline, the song that's dividing America or something like that. No, actually, who's dividing America is the media writing those headlines. This song isn't dividing America. Like, they're the enemy for saying stuff like that, because this song is actually uniting. And, if somebody in the ivory tower and the bureaucrat from Washington, D.C., or intellectuals from a lot of the colleges can't connect with that, they have their philosophical idea of what it's like to be poor or what it's like to
Mhm.
be black or what it's like to be
Right, right.
marginalized. But no, he's
There's
actually
statistical
talking.
analysis
Yes.
of
Yeah. It doesn't
right.
land with the average person who actually gets it. And that's why I love the song. And now he's coming out, I'm going to say against the right wing media. No, it's not the right wing media. The Republican presidential debate played his song, and the politicians were talking about it. He's like, I'm talking about you. He's
Yeah.
like, well, don't act like y'all are,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
on
All
my side.
saintly, right.
I'm calling you out. So
I think a lot of it could be that the country music genre is not usually a super charged politically genre. The hip hop genre is.
mhm.
So when a song comes out that's political in the hip hop genre, it doesn't make as many waves because it's just so common. But country music's so much more about like family, lifestyle, and just storytelling about kind of I would say more of this like specific personal experiences, not the big picture political world
Yeah.
experiences. They're a lot more of like vignettes about this moment on the farm or this moment in the bar or this living room. It's not a politically charged genre usually.
Yeah.
Everything in the last couple of years is crazy because I don't know. I feel like COVID did make people realize that if you politically charge something, it sometimes will have better clickbait or whatever. But still, for the most part, it's a bigger deal when someone does it in this genre because it's less common.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did it, and he wasn't trying. Like he recorded that song in the woods when somebody. It was
How? Like,
this West Virginia. I got like a gnat here. Uh,
you crying? You wiping a
yeah,
tear
wiping
away?
that
Yeah.
tear. No, there was I forget the company from, I think it was West Virginia, but it was like a group that goes out and films artists of West Virginia playing. So it was the first time, he said it was the first time he ever sang in front of a good mic. And he did it
Wow.
acoustic and just belted it. And the
Was
Richmond,
that the one where there were all those thousands of people who showed up?
no, that was, they showed up after
Okay.
his
Okay.
that
Because I
that
saw
song came
that
out.
video clip or whatever on
Oh
social
no,
media.
we'll listen to the song when. I wish we had our TV thing going here because I'm like, Julia, watch this.
Listen to this. Yeah.
But yeah, Richmond, north of Richmond, that's Richmond, north
North
of
of Richmond.
Richmond, Virginia.
Uh-huh.
DC, and it's a protest song. That's what I was saying. So I loved those protest songs during the Vietnam War. You could connect with them. They had, remember one. It's 1, 2, 3. This is at Woodstock. 1, 2, 3. What are we fighting for? Don't ask me. I don't give a damn. My next stop is Vietnam. And it's 5, 6, 7. Open up the pearly gates. Oh, there ain't no time to wonder why. Whoopee, we're all gonna die. And so that was you could
Whoa.
tell the emotion of being drafted to Vietnam. My dad was drafted. And so that's speaking on real issues. They're going off to war for nothing at the time. Being drafted, we're forcing you. If you don't go to war, you go to jail. And then at the time, the wealthy people, they would get out. Bill Clinton got out. They
Mm-hmm.
dodged the draft. Or the really smart people. I don't know if Clinton
Right.
had a lot of money, but
You
those
find some loophole.
yeah,
Yeah.
they find a loophole. But poor people or regular folks, they're getting drafted, and then they're being sent back in these caskets. And that's part of that
Oh.
song too. So that the song hits on all that, and so the old protest songs. I mean, I've been like waiting for something like Richmond, north of Richmond, to come out because I'm like, thank God somebody he put into words what we've all been feeling. And that is, living in a new world with an old soul. Like that's how I feel. I feel like that's me. A lot of people, can connect with that.
Yeah.
Overtime hours, bullshit pay. Like, yeah, this doesn't.
Those are also timeless lines, though.
Yes, they are.
I just think about every single generation that goes through will one day not be the new guy.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be living in whatever world the new generation brings up, no matter what, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
There's nobody who's 80 right now that's living in a world that they designed for where they are right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, for sure. I think maybe why that line connected so much is because with technology and everything going like it's going. I mean, for instance, our parents, actually, our grandparents are well, parents or grandparents are the last generation of full humans. So, we're not going to be full humans. You have the transhuman movement coming. I mean, Elon Musk is within 10 years away of the Neuralink, which is going to be a chip in the brain.
Wild.
Oh yeah, we have AI. General AI is
Ah!
is coming close.
Yeah.
So that's that's where
It's crazy.
I
It is
take
pretty
that.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, this is
Every single sci-fi book, film, short story is coming to
true.
fruition. It's wild.
Yeah,
I mean, someone thought of it back then, and then smart enough people came around that they're like, that was a cool idea. Let's make it happen.
yeah. Well, Warren was telling me Brave New World was written in like 1934, something like that.
I took a class at Vandy called Virtual Worlds and Augmented Realities, and one of the short stories we read is called The Machine Stops. And so many things that happened during COVID, like people's fear of touching each other, the fear of human contact,
Mhm.
the chastising of people for human contact, that all was in that short story. And
Really?
it was such a weird piece of the story that I hadn't thought that much about after the class. And then when that happened, I was like, this is how people could end up in isolated pods in a machine. I don't know. You'd have to read the story for it to fully make sense, but it's interesting to watch these dystopian novels or futuristic horror stories be like, wait, this is kind of how it's
Yeah,
going.
1984. I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
it's pretty
George
wild. I mean,
Orwell.
one of the quotes that I think about is the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety. The opposite of addiction is human connection. And so you think about and that's
That's
for,
cool.
that was in the context of like alcoholism or drug use. But you think about the addiction of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we become more and more on our phones, if you look at the hours on your phone, social media or
It's so
any of those
high.
things, and then as society is getting more and more disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me think about that. Like, you think about, I was talking to Dedrick, Dedrick, my business partner. We were talking about leadership. And he said, leadership is the algorithm. And that's who's leading the thought because you're being fed things on social media based off
Mm-hmm.
of what you're doing or the things that interest you. And
Mm-hmm.
so then you get this confirmation bias because that's all you're getting fed.
Mm-hmm.
And so as that happens and we get this confirmation bias, we become, in many ways more and more disconnected because we think, oh, they're the bad people over there. Whereas if you were just able to talk to people, you'd probably realize we have a lot more shared values than they'd think.
I don't know how exactly to fix the problem, but it's definitely a problem.
Yeah.
And I think about how I'd like to think of myself as a pretty disciplined person. Even I get sucked in to the vortex of it and just find
Sure.
myself an hour later. I mean, I've had to put timers on all of the social media platforms because for my job, have to be on these platforms. I mean, it really is directly related to my monetary income. Like, I have to be on these platforms.
Of course.
And so I'm like, I'm logging on to edit something and post it, and then something comes on that's funny, or somebody sends me a message of a video and I get pulled into it, and somehow I end up on the For You page, and it's all things that are catered to my exact tastes. It's stuff that I think is funny. It's stuff that I think is interesting. It's people who I want to know what's happening in their life. So all of these things are, yeah, one after the other, things I'm interested in. So of course I'm going to stay on, and then before you know it, it's like, oh my gosh, how'd that just happen? I didn't mean to do that. And if I can get sucked into that, I just feel like anybody can, because I don't have a highly addictive personality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've never been somebody that's not able to kind of just cold turkey cut something out.
Yeah.
This one is a different ball game because it's so catered to each person specifically.
It is, and I wonder how it's going to like form our kids' minds, because if they're at it from an early age, it's an addiction. I mean, it's a dopamine hit every time you open it up or you look.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get off of the podcast, one of the first things we're both probably going to do is look at our DMs or look at our texts, or that's not
Right.
normal though. Imagine a kid as their brain is forming. We were outside playing, and
Mm-hmm. Every interaction you have is being judged.
yeah,
And if you didn't post about it, did it really happen?
yeah,
I mean, it's a bizarre. I'm thankful that I was in the pre-social media world as a little kid, riding a four-wheeler around the backyard like that, fishing with my cousins. Totally different than what you see now. But I still think that if you enforce the no iPad rule or the only this much screen time a day rule with your kids, they still have interests from their own natural instincts to go do fun things outside. I think that if a parent really doesn't want to deal with their kid and just hands them a screen that's like, please just distract yourself so that I can do whatever I need to do, then yeah, that kid's not going to understand how much fun they could be having with their friends outside. But I feel like I still see a ton of kids out just distracting themselves, playing in the sprinklers and doing stuff like that. And I think it just all comes down to, if they know that is out there, they're going to prefer that to sitting on a screen up until a certain age level, when you start caring so much about what people think.
yeah.
And I don't know what age it is when that's what starts happening, but I feel like it's probably like maybe 5th grade. What is that, like 11?
10, 11, yeah.
That's when I'm like, okay, maybe the whole screen time thing and interaction needs to start really being monitored. As like, this can't be your everyday, every hour reaction to whatever you're doing. Like, go play your soccer game.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how all that evolves as well, because right now we have like with ChatGPT 4, it's pretty smart. Well, it's really smart, but it's also only good as the information that it has. So, but once we reach the general AI where it's smarter, then it can disseminate all the information in the world and come up with better conclusions than humans in a millisecond or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna have an interesting choice. Like, do we give in to the Matrix, or do we not? And so that's kind of just around the corner.
The Matrix was another one that we studied in that class.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that movie?
It's crazy because there's no reason why it can't be currently happening
Right.
to all of us.
Yeah.
It's just like, I like stuff like that though. That's like mind bending, and it makes you think. That's part of why I love songwriting too. It's like a brain workout.
Yeah.
But The Matrix felt like that. It's just if you look factually, logically, there's nothing to say that isn't currently what every single one of us is experiencing.
Yeah. I mean, simulation theory.
Mm-hmm.
It's a theory. I wonder though, like,
I don't think that, but I'm just saying,
Sure.
like, I like that there was something created that you really can't disprove. So
oh
it's like,
yeah.
oh,
Well,
okay.
I mean, Elon Musk says we're likely in a simulation. That's his thought. My thing is, I've had a kind of a roller coaster with spirituality over the last 25 years. I don't know how old am I? Yeah, over the last 20 years or so. Because I was kind of anti-religion for a while, and then basically, the more I started kind of challenging it, I was still praying, and I started realizing it's not about my understanding; it's about faith. And
Mhm.
I actually got this tattoo on my arm when I was 19. It has Hebrews 11:1, which is faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you don't see. And I think how fitting it is now because it's really faith that I stopped caring about my understanding of it all
Mhm.
and I just have faith. And I know that if I pray, and the more connected I am with prayer and um, talking to God as much as possibly can, of course, probably talk to him even more. But,
Mhm.
we have long conversations every night. And that's what's important, not necessarily my understanding of the things I can't prove or disprove
Mhm.
within the physical world.
Intelligence is a funny thing because the smarter you are, it's like you realize that you'll never really know because there isn't a way to know a lot of the answers to a lot of the burning questions that many of us have. Um, but there's also one of the things that I feel like I have chosen for myself is to enjoy the mystery of a lot of these things instead of being fearful of the mystery. I'm like, if there's no way I'm going to figure it out, then for my own sanity and my own happiness, let's just decide that I like this more as a mystery, and it's fun to think about the universe and space and the stars and heaven and all of the different things that faith can mean rather than be just like totally lost in what is the truth of it, a thing we'll never have the answers to.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's a good point. And I know for me, for instance, I'll give you an example. Someone who really challenged my beliefs was Joe Rogan.
Mm.
And so he did a comedy skit, which was Noah's Ark. He tells the story of Noah's Ark to an 8-year-old. I guess you can't say what he said anymore. But 8-year-old retarded boy. And and the whole story was how stupid the story of Noah's Ark was, that the kid was like, just like, there's a lot of holes in that story, and just completely crushed it. And you know, and Joe at the time would, if you would have to back up what you believed, Joe was very much like that back in the day. And so I never wanted to talk about religion around Joe because I didn't have an answer to that story. And I was like, he's like, it's right. It's really challenging me. But what I've learned, I've been thinking about this a lot lately.
Mhm.
So I'm bringing it up. I, what I learned was, you know, it's good to have people challenge those positions and make you think about things in a different way.
Mhm.
Because quite honestly, if he wouldn't have done that, maybe I would have a lot less depth in my thought, my thoughts of it. And it's one of the main things that actually brought me to the idea of faith. Like, yeah, there's a lot of holes in that story.
Mhm.
That's okay. There's also a
Mhm.
lot of good points too. Now I look at it as in parables too.
Mhm.
So it's people challenging your beliefs isn't a bad thing. Actually, the more your beliefs can be challenged, and the more you can really dive into it, the more those beliefs can grow and you can evolve.
I think a lot of that is why people in Nashville co-write, because if you're only writing from your own perspective, you're not gonna get the depth from your story quite as well as you will with a co-writing session where you've got 3 people maybe who are all thinking about this one play on whatever the song be, a love song or a heartbreak song, but everyone has their own perspectives of going through this, or this, so that when you do get those lyrics down on the page, it's a whole different level of understanding. And there's no right or wrong to a lot of the questions that we have. And I mean, you think about faith and religion and all those things, but it's even in the same, other than math, there's very little that has an undeniable correct answer. And I even remember taking a logic class where it was the argument of, is any one person's life worth more than any other one life? Or you sacrifice one life to save three lives. Why? Like, is it worth that, or is it not that person's responsibility? And there were all these different. It was a logic class for sure. And I remember I actually just had this conversation this week with my sister and someone else, but we were talking about this, and I was like, there wasn't a right answer. And the whole point of it was learning about all these different theories from people over the years who have come up with this theory, this theory, this theory. And a lot of them back up, different governments that exist around the world. They're based off of this theory or this theory or this theory. And it's kind of just more for a general understanding of humanity and the mind and how someone could come to this conclusion. What rabbit hole did they go down to get to this is the right answer? When that answer sounds so crazy to you because you went down this rabbit hole to this answer. But if you back it up to the initial starting point, you can kind of see where that initial disagreement happened.
Hmm.
And if you can fall in love with the not knowing and the learning of, like you were saying, more perspective so that you can get more depth to whatever it is you really do believe and you think, it makes it a lot more fun to talk about these questions, because there isn't. If there was an easy right answer,
Mhm.
yeah, there wouldn't be billions of people who disagree.
Right. No, that's a good point. And there's a lot of subjects like that,
Hmm.
that people get so stuck on being right and the other people being wrong that they lose in many ways the humanity in the middle. It just kind of separates people further and further apart. When in reality, if we were to sit down and talk about shared values, we'd realize that we're not that far off.
Hmm.
I think about a lot with what's going on in the world right now. I'll tell you something that bothered me. Uh, so it probably shouldn't, but it just bothered me because my experience is it's kind of like that headline talking about Oliver Anthony dividing, like his song isn't dividing the
Clickbait.
country, but Candace Owens, Maren Morris and um, Brittany Aldean had a little spat or whatever.
Tiff.
Tiff. And so Candace Owens goes on this whole video that she had obviously like planned. She was sitting in front of the camera, like different angles and stuff. And she's talking about real country music like Jason Aldean and fake country artists with no talent
Mm.
like Maren Morris. And I'm like, gosh, why is she saying that? Because all that's going to, like, first of all, Maren is extremely talented. And she just lost pretty much anybody who is having an honest
Right.
intellectual argument knows that Maren
Yes.
is awesome. You can disagree with her. I don't agree with her politics. She might call me a transphobe, even though I wouldn't consider myself that. That's okay. But, I'm not so jaded to where I would call her talentless. It's,
I see what you're saying, though. It's like she ruined the whole basis of her debate by saying something that was inherently not true just to trigger people,
yes.
when she could have just stuck to what the actual debate or conversation was about and said some points that would have been carried forward and trusted by both sides, rather than being so obvious that you're biased from the first sentence.
Exactly. And you lose people
Yeah.
that way, and it causes a divide. If you were to put those two in a room and break down why Brittany and Jason are really concerned with what's happening with our children and why they think they're being sexualized, and you were to bring out certain points, I'm sure Marilyn would be like, okay, yeah, I'm not down with that either. And then maybe Marilyn would say, well, I don't think that these trans people should be abused. And I think Brittany and Jason would say, I don't think they should be abused either.
Right.
And it's like they're not that far off on what they're trying to protect people.
Yeah, everyone wants the world to be a better place.
But
It's
instead,
just, yeah.
Marin thinks that they're transphobes and they're doing it, and it's just all this division without any logic.
Yeah, it's definitely when you take something out of context and you miss what the goal was of the initial point that someone was making.
Yeah.
And like you said, it comes down to they're both trying to protect people, but there are sometimes losers and sometimes winners.
Yeah.
And that's when it gets hard to sometimes you can't have everybody win.
Right.
And that's when it gets tough, is when you're saying, well, by helping these people do this XYZ, that is hurting XYZ. Like, for example, female athletes.
Mm-hmm.
People can do whatever they want to themselves. I'm not having an opinion on anything of that sort, but I, as a female athlete, if there were men in our locker room that were biological men in the locker room that were identifying as women, and I'm watching interviews from female athletes who are talking about this, it's just so painful for me to watch, because I just think about my childhood. If that had happened to me, how different I would be as a person. It would have totally taken my innocence so quickly, and I would have been forced to think about and learn about things far earlier than I needed to. And that's happening right now.
Well, so let's take that thought. That's a logical thought. That doesn't mean that you're a transphobe. Would you agree with that? That doesn't mean you're a
absolutely not. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you take something like that, and society could say, oh, well, you're transphobic because of that. And that is my point.
I was told on the CMT red carpet, under no circumstances are we cannot talk. Like, if someone asks you that question because they know how much you're involved in women's athletics, and I think this had just happened with like a biological male who identified as a female had just won like the NCAA national championship swim meet.
Yeah.
And so they were like, this was right before one of the red carpets. And I remember the publicist I had was like, you need to have an answer prepared. You can't give any opinion on it. Your answer needs to just be no comment, or I love all people, or just something totally beat around the bush. And I never got asked any question about it. So I never really had to go through that, but I was so mortified, because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm supposed to do in this situation. And I think a lot of people are feeling that, because you have thoughts and opinions, but there's a cancel culture out right now where even when you're having things with good intentions in your brain, thoughts that they are to protect people or to help people or whatever that is, you're still so scared of the cancel culture, because that's not what you meant.
Right.
You didn't, and people will spin anything you say now to be skewed.
Yes.
100% a different direction.
No, and that is exactly the point, is that, my advice to you is just tell the truth and be honest and kind about it. Because what you just said is very, very logical, and it could get spun, but there's no bad intentions in that. And if anyone's being intellectually honest about it, it's very, very reasonable. I mean, a biological woman should not have to see a penis in their locker room. That is not,
especially in your developmental years.
Yeah, well, even older. I mean, I was telling you, it's just, you shouldn't have to see that flopping around while you're getting dressed. I mean, that's ridiculous. You think about it. I mean, like, even saying, I almost laugh because of how ridiculous that sounds. And I understand that.
My parents didn't let me watch PG-13 movies till I was like 16. I grew up in like a very safe, protected environment where, they weren't weird. My parents are super awesome and normal, but like, they didn't want me to be exposed to things that were going to ruin my innocence for no reason.
Exactly.
On purpose.
Well, and that is, so, and for instance, that is my experience of what Brittany's saying. when she's posted about it, it's like this type of stuff is wrong. It doesn't make her transphobic. I'm sure, like if they were to see somebody being bullied on the street or picked on, they would go defend them.
Totally.
That was a trans person,
Totally.
and we have caused this divide. But that's why I went down that rabbit hole
Mhm.
because well, it was kind of what you said. You know, you saw from the philosophy class
Mhm.
how they started really close and how far away it got. And I think that's what it reminded me of was that interview that she did, like, that Candace did, talking bad about, Marin being talentless, and I was like, "Gosh, we've gotten so far away." And you look at the 2 sides between what, the Aldines are going through and what Marin Morris is saying and going through, and I bet you if you were to sit down and have a conversation, you wouldn't be that far off. Now, maybe maybe I actually don't know the whole,
Yeah,
all
I
the
don't know the whole
debate
beef
between them,
either.
but from my not knowing the whole thing that's going on, I can at least say, I bet you they're halfway reasonable, and the divide is coming
I'm
from
also
the
not a fan
media.
of doing it super publicly on social media in what seems to be like a middle school argument kind of a way. It's like if you're gonna make statements or have conversations or disagreements, I just feel like there's a better way to do it that doesn't feel like because of the industry that we're all in, it's hard for me to see through like no matter what side people are on. Are you doing this for clickbait or are you doing this because you want to make a change in the world? And
Mm,
I have every time I see something charged on either side, I'm always like, what was your intention behind this?
yeah,
And I'll never know, unless you're there in the moment or you're having that conversation, you never really get that answer. But I just can't help that that's always in the back of my mind of like, whatever you're saying, did you say this for clickbait or did you say this because you think you're genuinely making the world a better place?
yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good point, and, you know, for Candace, it was she was rallying up her base,
Mhm.
obviously.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know Marin. I know for Brittany, like when she talks, she's down for the cause. I mean, she's making a difference. They're raising a lot of money for these organizations that are making a big difference. Um, and you do have to look at what are people's, kind of intentions behind
Mhm.
all of this, and that's what people miss. What are the intentions?
Mhm.
And I do think though that most people are good people. And at least our friend group, I mean, I'm in East Nashville, so I've got the left crew here in East Nashville. I'm like the only actually, I'm more of an independent, but,
Mhm.
but I get along with all of my friends over here.
Mhm.
We talk and we talk politics. And we're actually in the end not very far off on our views. If you the talking points may make us seem like we are, but when you get to the important parts of it, it's like, oh no, like anybody who would want to sexualize children is a problem. And I don't know any friends that think that that's okay. Anybody who thinks that a biological male uh, going into a bathroom with their penis out isn't going to be offensive to a certain amount of women and can't see the other side is kind of like they're not being intellectually honest about that. And there's a lot of different issues, that are like that. But I mean,
And it's at the end of the day, it's still like I said earlier, there's always winners, there's always losers. It's still making someone else suffer to make someone else feel better.
mm,
So either way, somebody is losing
yeah,
in those scenarios. And it's just for some reason, it's become very politically charged in every different conversation you're having. Where, whereas these used to not be things that were even considered part of politics.
right.
Like everything in the world now like falls on one side or the other side, and it used to just be a conversation.
Because that's that algorithm hitting you with the
Yeah.
confirmation bias, causing the divide in the media, and the clickbait from those that get their masses to follow along. And that's why I'm even talking about this because I do. I want to find a way everybody can. We got to figure out a way to get along with each other. You know?
It's tale as old as time. People have always had wars. I mean, no one's ever gonna all get along.
No. Well, also, but in our country,
Sadly, I
in
mean,
our
I'm an optimist, but I'm also a realist, and I love European history, so I'm just like thinking back to all of these different historical things that have happened. I'm like, this is just human nature. I think it's why
yeah,
sports were even created. It's like people want to have someone that's on their side and then a team that they can battle against just for the rivalry of it. It's an instinct that for some reason the human species just they kind of get off on it. They just the competition is a why else would there be competition created through your entire life even for fun?
no, I don't disagree that it's human nature. It's just at this point in
It's gone too
society,
far.
we're at a, it's the worst it's ever been in America, at least in my lifetime. Um, and if we don't at least try to have the conversations, it's my view, but I don't know how much longer we have in America. I mean, I can't see it lasting another 10 years. Um,
I wouldn't say it's that much better anywhere else though.
well, okay, yeah,
You if you're gonna to cherry pick really tiny places like okay, Sweden, maybe everything's great there. There's nobody there. I mean, that's obviously not true. There's people there, but it's a
yeah.
much smaller pool of people. You just have millions and millions of people here. No one's ever going to all agree on something. And I think every other country that's big has the same kind of politically charged debate going on. Or they have some sort of ruler who doesn't allow any discussion, and that's not better either. So,
Yeah, a lot of the other places, I mean, so England went through this a few years ago, kind of before us,
mhm.
but they were being pushed. There's an ideology that's being pushed. And that's where the divide is because there's people that are saying like, no, we don't want to go a certain direction. And then you have another side. Yeah, I mean, it's right now it's two sides, like he's the other side. Um, and even those on the left, a lot of my friends, you're like, wow, the left has gone so far left. I might be on the right now. I mean,
Mhm.
Scotty talking about being a conservative, like not exactly, but he's like, golly, I'm talking about conservative ideas. That's wild when you think of Scotty. He's like Rage Against the Machine.
Think about Europe. Think about King Henry, like first starting the Church of England and leaving Catholicism. And then you've got the Catholics versus the Protestants in every country over there.
Mm,
It's not that different. I mean, it's religion versus politics to be the main dividing factor, but I think our political side uses religion in it as well in the same
yeah.
front. But entire countries battled over this.
Hmm.
Many, many, many people died because of this. People would defend it to the death. That ideology that they had because they supported this ruler or that ruler.
Hmm.
And that wasn't even technically to a different god. You know what I'm saying? It was just a different sect of worshiping the same religion with a different view of just how it's being communicated and who has power down on earth. Is it the king or is it the pope?
Well, then the question is though, if we've already seen the playbook and we've seen this happen before, like it's the definition of insanity. You
Well,
know?
they never really fixed it, if
Right.
you think about it.
Yeah, no.
So it's not like, oh, well, let's learn how they fixed it and fix it. They never fixed it.
Yeah.
There are still Catholics and still Protestants. And I think more people just found something else to be more passionate about because they got tired of watching a bunch of their friends and family members die. But
Yeah.
it's, the human race is going to find different things to polarize itself with. I don't know why, but it's
Hmm.
happened forever.
It has happened forever, and we're living through it. So now we just get to, we're
It's just
experiencing
our
it.
turn on the stage. Someone
Ah,
else will be in the play after us. Like
it's a good, yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, it's actually an optimistic view because
that's why I'm like,
you're
I just
like,
want to hang out with my friends and my family, and I love making music, and I love going to the beach. I love hiking and climbing mountains. I love seeing the world, feeling new experiences, getting cultured with things I would have never known about. I enjoy that rather than just so passionately digging my heels in and being like, this is the only way. When if you look historically, it's just like we're all just here for our blink and make the most of it. Be a good person. Try to make life better for people around you. Hopefully you can, or hopefully people around you are doing that for you too. If you've got a community and a base and a purpose, I feel like it's the best you can really ask for. And I don't know anything. And I think by knowing that I don't know anything is how I kind of have this piece of like, there isn't really an answer. I just am trying to peacefully exist for the time I'm blessed with and spend it with people I love.
That's really good. That's really good. Maybe I shouldn't get into politics and just.
But you're passionate about it. You enjoy the way it probably makes your brain work.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, when I hear, for instance, your perspective, though, I mean, it's a great point. I haven't really thought of it like that in a while. So I'm like, yeah. I'm not saying maybe I should as well, but that's the fun part about being open to possibility and ideas, because I do want to unpack the history and kind of make sense of it. And I think for me, I like to make a difference in specific areas if I can, or I can't. And helping society get through these wild times is important to me. It really is. But
you might not change the world in a minute, in a blink, but you definitely can make people's experience while they're here better.
Yeah.
So you're still doing it for a reason that is purposeful and makes sense. I just don't know that there's going to ever be like an end-all fix for all of the world.
You can't save the world?
You can try. And only people who try ever even get close.
Yeah.
So why not try?
Have you read Atlas Shrugged?
I haven't.
Oh, say when you have the weight of the world, what do? You shrug. You just shrug. No, it's good though, and I actually like your perspective, and I mean, there are plenty of people that could listen to that and say, oh, well, you know what? Those are really, really great points, and maybe I don't have to carry this weight with me in everything, because I feel like a lot of people are feeling this weight right now. I mean, this is the first, it's a great argument of another way of being, and it doesn't mean that you don't care about the issues or those type of things, but it is a great point of you look at history, human nature is to fight each other, and
there are peace bringers from history who you can study.
Yeah.
How did this specific ruler have an 80-year peace period in this country that had been fighting before? So there are things that you can pick from to be like, this might help for while we're on this planet,
Right.
our blink here. There definitely are still things that can make it better.
Well, you
But
look
I
at
just-
you look at Gandhi,
Yeah.
what Gandhi did. You look
Yeah.
at Martin Luther King.
Mhm.
You look at those Nelson Mandela.
And that's what I mean is by the ones who are thinking big enough to be like, I can make a difference, are the ones who do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's just the other perspective of, if I'm not going to spend all my time, effort, and energy into fixing that problem, because I'm spending all my time, effort, and energy trying to make music that helps people through the experience of life, which is ups, downs, sickness, health, love, pain, all these incredible different things. I'm spending my time making music to help people feel understood, connected to, empowered, like they can get through it.
Yeah.
The jack of all trades versus the master of none. Like, I'm trying to be the master of that trade, which means I can't spend a ton of my time working in, how am I going to make the political world better? Or how am I going to bring together this group of people this way? It's like, if my songs do some of that, and I do have a lot of songs that are about coming together and supporting each other and loving one another, but I'm going to focus on it through that that voice and that angle, which me being the hypersensitive person to, I don't want to speak on things I'm not qualified to speak on. Like if I'm not spending a ton of time studying what's going on in the political world, I don't know who's running for what. I mean, I'm really not paying attention to that world at all. I feel like I can't have an opinion because I haven't put the time in to learn.
Well, I mean, I feel like where society is right now, that's some good advice. But, then again, everybody can vote.
I
So
know.
should they not vote if they haven't put their time in?
I'd be allowed to go vote. I mean, I am allowed to vote.
I'm saying if that's making a decision for.
Yeah, it's definitely, I don't know that there's right and that there's wrong in, again, what you spend your time on the planet doing. Like, I don't think it's realistic that every single person on this planet is going to allot 20% of their time to studying politics so that they have a perfectly educated.
I was just saying a vote is an opinion. I voted for the councilman in my district, and I was like, I didn't know. I just hit a button.
Really? And that's what I mean is I feel guilty about that.
I didn't know.
I feel bad about like putting my opinion on something where I didn't put the time in to educate myself on it. Now I will talk all day.
I knew a little bit to where I was like, maybe.
You spend definitely more time on it than I do. But if you were to like harshly critique the lyrics of a song, I'd be like, I've spent a lot of hours studying songwriting. I feel like, no, I'm not the best songwriter on the planet. It's be the equivalent of like, okay, I'm not running for president, but I have put a lot of time in. I feel like I can weigh my opinion and feel validated on what I'm saying. Yeah. And I guess that's me just being overprotective about like, I want to make sure I'm qualified before I dive in on something. Yeah. And I think that's also something that women do more than men in general. It was one of the studies that had happened I remember, like, I can't remember if this was I think it was in one of my classes, but there were a lot of statistics that had shown that women will not apply for a job that they don't believe they're qualified for. And men will apply for something they know they're underqualified for and just be like, well, I'll figure it out and I'll do it. So I've worked a lot to have more of that mentality because that's how you get the higher job. Like I am still trying to write songs that are going to win Grammys. That is still my mindset because everyone starts somewhere, right?
Absolutely.
But I'm like, I'm going to also put in as much work as I can to also feel qualified to do that when it happens.
I guess my thought was I never feel qualified for anything that I do. And my entire life, I'm like, let's just figure it out. So I can relate like that.
In my music career, I started out doing the things that I really felt qualified to do. I'd studied a lot about marketing or business. I was majoring in entrepreneurship and corporate strategy at Vandy. I was like, I'm going to focus on the business side of it. I'm going to focus on the marketing side of it. Probably because I was a little scared and felt underqualified on the music and songwriting side of it. Because I knew when I got here, all these people had been writing since they were 4 years old. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just starting. So I had to overcome that. And then when I finally was like, okay, you can't become qualified in something until you just really dive into it. So go for it. And then now I have that mentality more. Where I'm just, if I want to be in that world and I want to be qualified for it, I'm passionate about it, I'm going to go for it.
Well, I think you're qualified now.
I'm definitely
I don't think you need to ask for permission anymore. And you can just go and fucking do it. So,
amen.
Let's go. Well, Julia, thanks for hanging out with me today. I'm sure we'll have, for those that don't know, we have like discussions like this all the time. And it was like, oh, let's go down a little rabbit hole here. And you made me think, which I enjoy because I'm going to really think about what you just said and try to make, just unpack it. It's good stuff. So,
well, you're one of my best friends in the world. I admire you, all of the things that you're passionate about and that you're always working on, especially everything you're doing over it in Tijuana. I mean, it's incredible, and it makes me want to make a big impact as well. So just know that you are making a big difference. I know you already know that, but you are.
Well, thank you. Love you, Julia.
Love you too.